In this video, I'm going to share with you a frustrating trade recap where I took two really good trades that worked out really well. So why didn't I make any money off them? Let's find out. Hi everybody, my name's Emily from the channel Mindfully Trading. If you're new to my channel, I share my journey as I grow and develop as a Forex trader. And in this video, I'm going to share with you a recap of my trades from yesterday. So I took two trades. I took a trade on the Great British Pound to the Japanese Yen, and I also took one on the US dollar to the Swiss franc. And they both worked out really well. I felt like I got my technical analysis done quite accurately, and on the surface, they were really good trades, but unfortunately, I broke even pretty much on both of those, and it's very much down to the emotions and the way they affect you when you trade. So I'm going to jump on the computer, I'm going to show you the charts for the trades, I'm going to show you what my strategy was, what my entry was, and how I set my targets, and I'm going to show you how I went wrong on them, because I mean, trading is a journey and we all learn from our mistakes, and that's very much what I've done with those two trades. So I'm going to share them with you now. I hope you enjoy. Okay guys, so back on the computer, and as I said, this is my trade recap for yesterday, so Monday the 6th of July. Two trades, pound to the yen and US dollar to the Swiss franc. And you can see I took them in the morning. I did arrive at the computer about just before 7 o'clock before the London breakout session. But I was just watching, waiting for the trades to set up, basically, to try to get my entry a little bit more accurate. I've been focusing a lot more on the technicals the last few weeks with my trades. So I'll just drag the chart across firstly for the pound to the yen. Let's have a look at the daily chart just to give you an overall view here. So I know there's quite a little bit of clutter on this chart. This is my analysis from the weekend. So I've got sort of the main trend lines here, so I can see we've been in this downtrend. We've been in this very long consolidation here over the last few weeks. Wow, going back to March pretty much when everything cracked off worldwide. So let's just look at the more micro view of the market here on the daily chart. So we've come down here to this trend line, we've double tapped it, and I very much feel like we are going to go upwards here. So I generally have been long biased, but yesterday, if I just make this a bit bigger, so this is the candle that we looked at, the finishing candle for yesterday, and we've been in a little bit of a channel, I suppose. We've been in between the daily 20 moving average and then the weekly 20 moving average has been acting as resistance here for the price action to move higher. It looks like today so far we've got a strong bullish candle. Maybe it's going to get through that today, but yesterday I was looking after going through this process and going down to the 4-hourly chart. So we can see this section here. This is what I traded yesterday. So let's break it to the hourly, which is what I predominantly use for my trades, and I'm going to line up to where I took my position. So if we just switch back to my trade record sheet here, so I took it at 8 minutes past 8 in the morning, so just before this candle open here. Right, so we can see in the morning we had this big rejection candle here of the weekly 20 moving average. It's slightly more like a doji really, because the wicks are quite even on either side, but I was also using the 15-minute chart. So I'll line this up to where I got in on the 15-minute chart as well. So sort of comparing the two charts here, we've got this retest of this weekly moving average point, which has been a resistance zone. And then I was watching the price action candles, so we have come down here. We used this moving average on the 15-minute chart as a support to kind of bounce up and try again to get past that weekly resistance, but it didn't quite break. So I was kind of looking between the 15-minute chart here and the hourly chart. So I waited for this 7-hourly candle to close, which was around about 0.50. And then as we started to get the volume moving in lower on this 15-minute candle, that was pretty much when I got short. I think I could have maybe got a higher entry, because this middle pin bar here, let me just show you with the arrow tool. That red pin bar there is quite a nice indicator, because it's rejecting this weekly moving average. It's got a very long upper wick, so the price action did move up and then it came back down where it closed. It's quite a bearish candle, but because it's also an inside candle of this previous doji, I was still a little bit too reticent to get in off that candle alone, so I wanted to wait to see, which of course we did get another try here. But then when this green candle did a similar pattern, we opened, we went up, and we came and closed down, leaving this long upper wick here, another bearish pin bar. That was when I got interested to actually get into the trade. And then I think I did get a tiny bit of slippage on the trade, but I got in with a position of 134.50 exactly. So it's that, the bottom of the hourly candle there. So that's where I got into my position using the combination of these two. For this position, I was actually risking 1% to make 1.5%, but as I was watching the chart, I was quite prepared to extend my target to 2% if I felt like it had the range. So let's just use this brilliant tool by TradingView to show you that in a little bit more detail. So my entry was around about there, 134.50, which was the bottom of this hourly candle, and I was risking 25. So my profit target was at 0.12. Let's move this down here. So once I got into this position, I adjusted my stops and targets as I've just done here with you guys. And then I pretty much just let the trade go for now. So if I move across, you can see that although we did kind of come up and consolidate for a little bit here on the hourly, it did sell off quite nicely. But I was mainly watching the 15-minute chart. So pretty much from when I got into the trade, I was in the green, which is always really nice to see. We did come back up here, but I felt like we were just making this M formation just to try to retest the zone here before fading further down. So I did hold my position. But this big green candle here, this big green bullish candle, is where I actually went wrong. See, where we came down here with this red candle, this was getting quite close to my profit target, and it was at this point that I was thinking about extending my target. So I looked back at my trade, edited my plan, which in hindsight I shouldn't do. I really need to start trusting my plan and let the trades work. But I didn't do that. I went into my broker, I looked at editing my plan, I looked at extending my profit target from a 1.5% target to a 2% target. And because it had already come down quite a lot from my entry, I felt like we'd already retested it with this M formation. So I actually adjusted my stop to break even at that point, because I felt like if we came that far up, we were going to try to get above this weekly and there'd be a chance of me getting stopped out. So I felt confident at that time that I wouldn't get stopped out and it would go in my direction. So I actually altered my stop from up here to my entry at the 50. Now, it doesn't really look as clear on this chart because brokers do move a little bit differently to the charts. But as you can see, this green bullish candle here about 3:45 in the afternoon, straight after I adjusted my stop, it pretty much rose up, as you can see. And although the wick doesn't touch my stop here, my entry point, on the broker, on the ask price, it actually got triggered. It literally hit my stop and it got me out of the trade. And it got me out with, let's have a look, a 15p profit, because I didn't set my stop to break even. I set it just a little bit below. So unfortunately, I got blasted out of that trade, and then the trade then continued, would have hit my original profit target, and then continued a little bit further down. So that's frustrating trade number one. Why did I move my stop? Well, I think that I'm at that point where I'm focusing so much on risk management that maybe I'm thinking too much. By all means, risk management is so crucially important to trading, to successful trading, and that's what I've been focusing on. But in this situation, I should have recognized that I set a valid stop, and I had my stop set where I felt was a very good point. It was above a resistance level, and it was above the previously tested point, and that is risk management. It's not taking too great a position size, it's using hard stops, and it's placing them in the right places, and I felt like I did all those things. So in hindsight, that being said, I should have let the trade work out, but I didn't. I edited it. So from that, I'm just learning to try to step away a little bit, because by all means, looking at the technicals, this was a great trade, but I interfered and I sabotaged myself on this, and I took away my chance at making a 1.5% profit, which is really frustrating. But the nature of trading are these lessons, and at least the lesson in this state is not that I've had a big loss and I'm learning from that. It's because I prevented myself from having a nice win. So if my lessons are starting to take a curve up and mean that I'm starting to get profitable while I'm still learning, that's great. At this point, I'm welcoming the lessons, but it'd be nice to start to learning from them as well and actually start moving forwards. But I am being patient. So let's have a look at the second trade that I took. Okay, so trade number 2 that I took, as I said before, it's the US dollar and the Swiss franc. And once again, I've got the daily chart up here, and again, it's quite busy for my weekly analysis. But we've been in this consolidation pattern here. We've kind of tested this upper trend line and then broken down. Now we've been testing this lower trend line, and yesterday we actually broke through that. So I took a short on this trade. Moving down into the 4-hourly chart here. This was what I could see yesterday. So we'd broken through this trend line and we were making this strong bearish move, and we'd also broken below. I had a horizontal ray set there, so it was looking quite strong to the downside. And jumping onto the hourly chart here, I had a horizontal ray lined up here around about the 0.9427 mark, which just marked some point of resistance and support level, like a pivot level. As you can see, the hourly candles here closed just above that. But once again, I've been using a combination of the hourly chart and the 15-minute chart. So I was looking a little bit closer at the 15-minute chart. So we can see we tested this move, we tested it again, we came back up here and came down to test this level, formed a doji, and I was just looking at these, the relationship, the candlesticks around this point here. So it got interesting at about 7:45 where we broke through that point and we did shoot up. So it's kind of like a bullish pin bar really, because the price action had opened up and it came down, but then it had been pushed back up. But then the candlestick that followed after that, which engulfed that one, was more of a bearish pin bar, where we'd obviously opened up, we'd gone up, but then we'd come back down and we'd close below this horizontal ray. And that was when I got interested to take a position. But I was just waiting to see what happened, because it had been a little bit unsure, doji being the candle of indecision. So the next candlestick that formed after this initial pin bar was another pin bar move. Now it was inside this one, but this is quite nice because again we've gone up and come down, and that just confirms to me that the sellers are getting the upper hand of this trade. So this is where I actually look to get short. So I actually got short here just at the low of this pin bar candle, and I set a larger stop up here. So let's just move the hourly in so you can see that. So once again, I set my stop and my target points here, and if I just move across so you can see what happened on this 15-minute chart, let's just make that a little bit smaller. We can see that it did actually come back up to this horizontal level, and it did seem to contest this and also the EMA, but with us being on the short end of this, it was acting as a resistance for the price action going higher. So we did end up bouncing off that, and we did continue to fade. So once again, it worked out to be a really nice trade. And once again, unfortunately, I sabotaged myself with this trade. So as you can see, I was risking about 15 pips, it ended up being, to make 22 pips. So I was aiming for 1.5% ratio. And if I move the hourly candle, and we can actually see that I had the potential to definitely make 2%, and it even went down even more than that. So it did turn out to be a really good trade. However, at this point where we started to consolidate, I was watching this trade, and now I can understand why people say set it and forget it. But I was watching this trade here, and sort of looking back, I think I made some points around about like this mark here before these candlesticks had formed. So we tested the CMA, we dropped. However, this bullish candle here at 10:15 is when I decided to close the position, and in hindsight, I don't have anything to support closing that position other than my own emotions, fear of losing, which is really annoying. It's unnecessary, but I can understand why, because yesterday I actually was really tired yesterday, and I know it sounds like an excuse, but I mean, like, really tired. I didn't sleep very well, and I felt exhausted in the morning where my eyes were just so heavy. And I know that when I'm tired, I have less of an awareness of my emotions. I'm less mindful. it's basics, it's looking after yourself, and I think that that's what helps to make better decisions trading as well, because you are more emotionally prepared, you're more aware, you're more focused. And I just basically wasn't on my game yesterday, so I wasn't really prepared psychologically, I suppose, as well as I could have been for trading. Technically speaking, that's what I've been focusing on, is improving my technical side of trading, my strategy, my targets. And from a technical perspective, this was a really good trade. But if you're not there emotionally and psychologically, then technicals can be great, but you can still sabotage, which is what I've done here, which is frustrating. But it's the lessons I'm getting at the moment is it's such a fine balance between having 100% technical analysis, but also 100% trading psychology. So here I actually stopped out of this just before my entry, because we'd had this sort of strong bullish move up, and then we were consolidating. I can't even make an excuse, to be honest, guys. I can see that we were consolidating on the underside of resistance. I had no reason to close the trade, which is what makes it such a frustrating recap. But again, like, I'm a beginner on my journey to becoming a consistently profitable trader, and this is what I'm sharing with you guys, and this is what I imagine a lot of other beginners experience as well, is the setbacks of these silly mistakes. But that's how we learn, isn't it? We've just got to keep on going and learn what we can from these mistakes. So my main points that I've learned from this trading day with my whopping 45p has been to follow my plan, because if I'd have followed my plan, they both would have worked and I would have made 3% on my account yesterday, which would have been wonderful, but I didn't. So that's what I've written in here. But on a bonus, I'm actually really happy, because on the opposite side of that, it shows that my strategy, my technical analysis was great yesterday. There were two fantastic trades, so I'm really happy with that. It's good confirmation that I'm in the right direction, but I need to obviously have the right mindset for it as well, and not be afraid to lose, because losing is a part of trading. We can't win all the time. But as you can see from my corrective actions, I've just basically written down trust and trade my plan. I think I might write that on a post-it note and stick it on my screen so I see that every time I sit down here to trade. There we have it, a little bit of a frustrating trading day, but there's always something to learn, and I'm glad that my lessons are starting to be, whilst I'm technically in the green, does 45p count as the green or break even? I don't know, but it's not red, and that's what matters. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Drop me a thumbs up if you have, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed to this channel. If you've got any questions or comments, do leave them below, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.